Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert. I'm Julia Alberg-Burbank, your worship associate for today. As we begin today's service, we acknowledge that we gather on the unceded lands of the Agua Caliente Band of the Cahuilla people. And we commit to grow in our understanding and relationship with this land and with the people who inhabited it and nurtured it before our arrival. In this congregation, we strive to honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person. You are welcome. No matter your sexual orientation or gender identity, your age or your size, whether you're rich or poor. We welcome people of all races, all religions, and all cultures. We welcome you, wherever you come from and whoever you love. We welcome all of those who will learn and grow with us as we commit together to embrace the rich and beautiful diversity of the world. Our goal here is to build a community centered in justice, in compassion, and in love. We are glad you are with us today, whether you are here in the sanctuary, it's so good to see all of you, or at home. Your presence is a blessing. We'd like to take a moment now to greet newcomers and visitors. So if you're here for the first time and you're comfortable, we invite you just to stand, raise your hand, and Sue will come around to you with a microphone. And for now, just share your name and where you're from, and after the service, we'll get to know you better at coffee hour. So we're gonna start on this side today. We're good. Anybody? We have anybody wanting to introduce themselves today? Okay, well, everybody is welcome, and we are so glad you're here today. And now we will ring the Tibetan bowl, and we will listen to our music for centering by the wonderful Eddie Clement.
Our opening words are by the Reverend Elizabeth Mount. From our very first breath, we reach out. Co-regulation, not self-regulation, is in our nature. We find our cues from the sun and the moon, from each parent and caregiver. We find our place in this great turning planet by turning to one another, generation to generation. We awaken to the dawn and fall asleep at the evening's end. Our life's journey is part of something greater, something simple, something divine. A flame cannot be lit without a spark, a life cannot begin without the air, and we cannot begin to find ourselves without love. May we reach out to one another. May we offer love and nurturing care. May we join together in celebration of the interdependence of our lives. In this spirit, let us worship together. Now, if you will rise in body or spirit, and we will sing our opening hymn, This is the Truth That Passes Understanding.
I'd like to welcome Stephen Tobra to help us light the chalice. And we join together in the words on the screen. May love be the spirit of this church. May the quest for truth be its sacrament, and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. And I've welcomed, in the spirit of rejoicing and joining together, Chris Hughes to light the biopot candle. Let us join together as we say, we light these candles in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color as we journey together towards spiritual wholeness. May we, as a beloved community, work to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. Thank you for the grace around that. Our reading today is entitled Mathematics by Reverend Lynn Ungar. There is no algebra for death. No life lost cancels out another. The idea that there is some other side to the equation is a lie, perpetrated by centuries of war and revenge. There is no other side. You cannot subtract and equalize the equation. There is an addition of loss, grief upon grief upon grief. There is a multiplication of loss, ripples of sorrow expanding through families, friends, communities, nations. Division is a choice. Division is a choice. In the spirit of unity and working together to support our community, I invite the ushers to come forward and collect our offerings.
And the wider community in our valley, without which we would be much diminished. It is the time in our service where we share the joys and concerns and sorrows that people have left, either written in the book or sent by email. And the first is a hard one. A candle of love, support, concern, and healing for Sarita and Barb. Sarita has shared that her cancer has flared up again. She knew something wasn't right during the trip across Canada as she was short of breath and not feeling well. It has spread into her right lung, spine, and elsewhere. She will start infusion chemo on August 12th, and her oncologist is hopeful and optimistic that they can get this under control. Sarita says, "I know I can do this with Barb, my friends, and church community at my side. Please keep us in your thoughts." We will. I welcome good thoughts on Wednesday around 9:30 a.m., says Julia, as I will be interviewing for a principal position. Yay. Thank you. We are so proud and happy for our nephew Noah, who got his first and dream job teaching high school history and economics. He's going to be great. say Sandy and Margaret. And there is one that is not in the book, because present here today is Maxine, who is about to have a birthday. So there was a thought that perhaps we could sing a little song. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Maxine. Happy birthday to you. Woo! And many more. Friends, for these joys and concerns and sorrows that have been shared, and all of the ones that remain unspoken in our hearts, we give our prayers, we give our thoughts. We draw those concerns into our hearts and into this community. For it is in community that we become whole, and that our joys and our sorrows can be transformed into the love that supports us through them. You would join me in a moment of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, we come here in community with our cares, with concerns for ourselves, for our loved ones, for our nation, for the world. And we do not leave these cares at the door. And neither do we leave the joys of our lives, the laugh of a child, the touch of a loved one, the smile on the face of a friend when they recognize us. Those joys, too, we carry with us into this sanctuary, where they are all part of who we are. Spirit of life, we ask that you support us through these trials, through these joys together, so that we experience the fullness of life, the richness of life, with the support that we get from our community, from you, and from you. Let us reflect on this for a moment in silence. May the Spirit of life support us today and every day. Blessed be. Please remain seated as we sing our meditation hymns. Thank you so much for that special music. I'm really happy that we got to sing that song, partly because it explains the title of the sermon. But I feel that I should say that when I first heard that song as a child, I hated it. It comes from a 1952 movie, a very fictional account of the life of Hans Christian Andersen, who was played by the actor Danny Kaye. And Danny Kaye adopted this song as a kind of standard that he would sing at the drop of a hat. He sang it on many occasions, including in 1979 on The Muppet Show, surrounded by Muppets singing 2 and 2 are 4. But I hated this as a child because I was a child who loved arithmetic. So the song was, as they say, yucking my yum. And for no good reason. Because why can't you measure the marigold and appreciate its beauty? It's kind of like the people I know who are the most open to the beauty and the wonder and the mystery of the night sky, the people I know who most appreciate that are astronomers. Knowing the distance between the stars and the composition of Saturn's rings does not make them any less beautiful, any less awe-inspiring. So in the Inchworm song, the comparison is between measuring the length of a marigold versus appreciating its beauty. And those are both things that people can actually do, and the song is kind of asking which one of those is better. But there's another related take. There's a story by the children's book author Leo Leone that's called The Inchworm, or actually called Inch by Inch, I'm sorry. And it goes in a slightly different direction. In this children's story, there is an inchworm who saves himself from being eaten by a bird by promising to measure the bird's tail. So he measures the bird's tail, and then he goes off and measures the tails of all the other birds, and he seems to be doing pretty well until he meets a nightingale. The nightingale asks the inchworm to measure his song. And that really doesn't make any sense. That is not something that you can do. You can't take a measuring tape and measure a song. In the story, the inchworm has to resort to a trick to escape. But the point is that you can't measure a song with a measuring tape any more than you can measure the beauty of a marigold. Just like you can't measure love or happiness or the value of a human life. This sermon is about effective altruism, which is a philosophical movement that claims that it will help you do the most good with your charitable contributions and with your life. Perhaps most famously, in its early years, the effective altruism movement said that it was an ethical obligation for you to work in the highest paid profession that you are qualified for, and then spend most of your money, most of your income, on buying mosquito nets for people in Africa. And they chose mosquito nets because they measured the goodness of all the possible charities that one could give money to, and they decided that mosquito nets were the best. There was nothing better than that. So I wonder, how many of you volunteer at a local charity like the Galilee Center that was here a couple weeks ago when I was preaching, or some other local charity? Or how many of you support charities through financial contributions? Yeah, the effective altruists say don't. They're not mosquito nets. It's not worth it. Do something else. This sermon is also about a movement called long-termism, which grew out of the effective altruism movement. Long-termists say that the number of human beings that may or will exist one day in outer space in the future, that number dwarfs the number of people actually living on Earth right now. So a tiny increase in the well-being of all of these hypothetical future people outweighs by far the life and death of every single person on Earth right now. So again, how many of you care about climate justice or poverty or social justice? I assume a few of you, yes. Do you donate money or time to help solve these problems? The long-termists say that you shouldn't, and that trying to solve these problems is an immoral waste of time. Instead, they say that your money and your time should go towards developing space travel and so-called artificial intelligence to populate the galaxy with thinking computers. Let me say, though, that among Unitarian Universalists, I think especially the effective altruism movement might be something which has some attraction. And I want to say that if any one of you considers yourself to be an effective altruist, I am not trying to attack you personally. I am just going to try to spell out the objections that I have to these philosophies. And if you have not heard of them before and are wondering why you should care, it's because very powerful people subscribe to these philosophies. You may remember Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF, he was called, the man who founded the FTX cryptocurrency exchange and who was convicted last year of 7 counts of fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. He's an effective altruist and was well respected in the effective altruist community because he made billions of dollars by fraud while supporting effective altruism groups. And Elon Musk, you may have heard of, is fixated on populating Mars because he is a long-termist. Amazon's Jeff Bezos wants to have 1 trillion people living in space so that humanity does not stagnate on Earth. Mark Andreessen, the billionaire tech entrepreneur who helped advise Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency, he wants AI to conquer space. I hope to convince you that these movements are against our Unitarian Universalist values. I hope to convince you that it is incredibly dangerous to have supporters of these movements in positions of power. So, first, let's talk about long-termism. The long-termists think that it is desirable for humanity to colonize the universe. Not simply to explore the universe, but literally to colonize it. They want to maximize human happiness, which again is not something that you can measure, but they want to make it as big as possible by maximizing the number of humans, or possibly simulated humans. They also think about artificial intelligence living in computers, and they try to calculate the happiness of that as well. And they are not afraid to use the word colonize here. And I think, really? Again? How did that work out before when arrogant white men moved into places that they persisted in calling empty and unoccupied? But the long-termists dream of sending probes into space that will build Dyson spheres around our neighboring stars. A Dyson sphere is a hypothetical structure that completely surrounds a star in order to collect all of its energy. And they want to use that energy to transform the star's planets into either more probes or computers that can hold simulated intelligence, simulated beings. And I think it's kind of funny. So I'm assuming that this pulpit has seen its share of Star Trek references. All right, so I feel authorized to make one myself. There is literally an episode of the original Star Trek series where our heroes encounter a device like this floating through space that is like destroying stars and planets, everything in its path. The story writers in the 1960s had the sense to recognize that this would be a bad thing. And our heroes spend the whole episode destroying it. But the long-termists are excited to begin building them. Now, you might say that this vision of the future seems unlikely, and you would be right. In his book, More Everything Forever, the science journalist Adam Becker points out that even the very first step in this dream, the first step being colonizing Mars, It's much more difficult than people once thought, and he spells out the problems. One of the main ones, which was discovered only in 2008 by the Phoenix lander on Mars, is that the Martian soil is poisonous. In the movie The Martian, if you have seen that, you might remember that the astronaut Matt Damon, who was stranded on Mars, survives by planting potatoes. In the real world, well, the real Mars, those potatoes would have died, and so would have he. The long-termists do not dispute that this vision of the future is unlikely, but they estimate that the number of people that you could fill the Milky Way with could be as many as 10 to the 45th power. That is a billion, 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 billion people. So they ask us to consider two alternatives. Choice one: what if somehow we could make all of the roughly 10 billion people on Earth safe, well-fed, housed, happy, and completely fulfilled mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? So that's option one. Option two: suppose there is a very slim chance, one chance in a billion billion, that we could fill the Milky Way with people that are only 1/billionth as happy as our hypothetical, paradise on Earth people. If we take that huge number of people and multiply by the tiny probability that they will actually exist, and multiply that by the minuscule amount of happiness that we are hoping that they might have, that product, whatever it means, is still 100 million times larger than the happiness of everyone in our hypothetical perfectly happy paradise on Earth. So, they say, why even work to improving anything on Earth when if we make a tiny change in the existence of these hypothetical people in the future, it will outweigh everything that we might do here? We should ignore the real-life problems on Earth and instead dream about colonizing the stars. And just to bring this home, we have these three values that they are trying to work with. There's the hypothetical number of people and simulated people in the future, which, there's really no way of figuring that out to any accuracy at all. There's the probability that these people will actually exist, which, again, we cannot figure out with any accuracy. And then there's measuring the happiness of people, which I say is just not something that you can do. There is not one number that quantifies how happy a person is. So they take these three problematic numbers and multiply them together. And I think that makes about as much sense as measuring the beauty of a marigold to 9 decimal places. Speaking as a minister and as a mathematician, I say that this is complete nonsense. It is complete nonsense to claim that the result outweighs the value of solving literally every problem facing humanity today. Complete nonsense unless perhaps you run SpaceX, or Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos' space program, or OpenAI, Sam Altman's company that produces so-called artificial intelligence. If you own those companies, it is in fact highly profitable to claim that the most good that you can do is to fill outer space with intelligent computers. The most good that you can do. So that is what the proponents of effective altruism claim that they can compute for us. And I want to share a personal connection I have with this philosophy. Way back in 2013, after spending a lot of thought on the matter, I was finally deciding that I really did want to enter seminary. And I was just about ready to start filling in the applications when I was contacted by an acquaintance from high school, an acquaintance who had made a lot of money in the banking world. And this acquaintance was getting ready to start a new asset management company focused specifically on cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin. And he wanted to learn more about the math and the cryptography involved with these currencies. He knew that I had experience in both fields, and he offered me a chance to consult with him. So, on the one hand, I could enter seminary and become a minister. On the other hand, I could get in on the ground floor of a cryptocurrency trading company run by someone who had deep contacts in the financial industry. If I were a Christian youth minister, right now I would pull up a chair, sit down backwards in it, and say, you know who else was offered a choice between ministry and worldly success? But I think that would be an unfair comparison both for my friend, who is not actually the devil, and for me, who is not actually Jesus. But the fact that these choices came up at the same time seemed almost a little too good. And the thing is that effective altruism would say that this choice between entering seminary and becoming a cryptocurrency guy was straightforward. Because if I worked at a crypto exchange firm, I could earn tens of millions of dollars, and then I could give large portions of that money to buy mosquito nets. But I chose to become a minister. And part of that was personal preference. But part of it was also a recognition that the effective altruists only consider things that they think they can measure. And they miss important aspects of life because of that. One of those hard to measure things is the value of community and relationship. So let me give you an example of how effective altruists fail to take this into account. There's a famous example that was made by the philosopher Peter Singer in 1972. It's kind of one of the roots of the effective altruist movement. Peter Singer said, suppose you were walking to work wearing an expensive work outfit, and you were walking across a park, and you happened to cross a child drowning in a shallow pond. He said that you would not think twice about jumping in the pond to save the child, even if it would ruin your nice work clothes. And then he said, there's no difference between that situation when you're willing to sacrifice expensive clothing to save a child. There's no difference between that and and spending the cost of that suit to send money to a child far away. He says that with the same eagerness that made you spoil a suit to save the drowning child, you should give up most of your purchases and instead send that money to help the poorest people in the world. Now, I am not saying that you should not contribute to Oxfam or Doctors Without Borders or any of the groups that are doing good in faraway places. But I do want to point out there is a difference between saving the child in the park in front of you and saving a child across the world. Namely, you are more likely to be in community with the child in the park on your way to work. You may know the child. You may know the child's parents. By saving the child, you will create a bond. And you may start to work with that family doing things in your community. Maybe you'll be building fences around the ponds in the park so people don't fall in. Or perhaps you will join together to warn your neighbors when ICE or the Border Patrol comes by. Sending mosquito nets to Africa may be well-intentioned, but if you are not in community, or at least listening to the people you are giving charity to, you will not know whether or not you are actually sending them something that they want. And this actually happens with mosquito nets. Some of the families who receive mosquito nets are happy enough to reduce the risk of malaria, but they have some more immediate needs, like, for instance, food. And so some people take these mosquito nets that they were sent and use them instead for fishing. And there's a problem with that. First problem, the nets are coated with insecticide, so that is not a great start. And second, imagine a fishing net. It's got big holes in it, so that the small fish, the young fish, will pass through, and you only catch the adult fish. If you use a mosquito net, which is supposed to keep mosquitoes out, you catch everything in the water. So the young fish are captured, everything is captured, and you collapse the fish population in the river or lake that you're doing this in. So this very well-intentioned thing of sending mosquito nets to help prevent malaria ends up harming the people and the environment where they are sent to, because there weren't people on the ground asking what was needed. Generosity without relationship can have very bad unintended consequences. So, how do you measure the value of a relationship? How do you measure the value of community? And the problem is you can't. You cannot assign a single number to measure community. And the effective altruists don't even seem to want to try. They view the African communities they say they want to help in the same way that they view a child drowning in a pond, helpless and without agency. You don't ask the child whether or not they want to be lifted from the pond. And the effective altruists typically aren't asking people in Africa what their most pressing needs are. They make assumptions, and then they say that those assumptions justify the choice to become an investment banker. So, most effective altruists, in fact, have moved on now from mosquito nets. They've become long-termists, and they say that the most ethical use of your money is to support their attempts. Well, one of them is to prevent artificial intelligence from taking over the world. And coincidentally, I'm sure, effective altruism is very popular in Silicon Valley. It's very tempting to say that the thing that you want to do anyway is the most ethical choice. And I'd like to say that we can say no to this. As Unitarian Universalists, we do want to help others, and we do want to avoid waste while doing so. Generosity is one of our values. But I think we should also recognize that not everything can be quantified. It doesn't make sense to say that there is one charity that is better by far than all the others. We must make our ethical decisions based not only on numbers, but also on how our actions will build relationships and will build community. Because relationships and community are what will actually allow us to solve the problems that we have here on earth, now in the present. May we recognize that life is not a calculus problem. May we center love and not mathematics. And may we treasure, not measure, the relationships that our generosity creates. Blessed be. And now please rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 1064, Blue Boat Home.
Still my God and
I have a bit of congregational news today, and I want to start with a thank you, Reverend Howe, to Eddie, to all the AV people, the hospitality people, to my Bryna who helped me get this service together. It takes a lot of people to bring this service to you and the coffee hour to you, and I'm so appreciative of everyone who helped today. Thank you. Please remember, if you want to receive more information about us and our programs, you can sign up to receive our weekly and monthly newsletter. You can do that in the lobby or by contacting admin@uucod.org, admin@uucod.org. Fellow crafters among us, visitor or member, consider yourself invited to our first Wednesday casual crafting gathering. We bring our own projects or ideas to the community room from 11 to 1. We hope to see you on Wednesday, August 6th. Bring your own snack, beverage, and ideas. We'll be happy to welcome you from the fabulous Leslie G. John Ressler's daughter, Rua, who joins us here when she is visiting, is having a serious surgery tomorrow, Monday, August 4th. John has created some incense cones from our Sacred Grounds plants. For those who are interested, he is requesting that we burn them at 1 p.m. on Monday together. Many are spoken for, but please see him after the service. Dining Divas for August is a potluck at the home of Joni and Bill on August 11th at 6 p.m. Please sign up in the foyer today or email Joni Paddock. Please remember that we welcome your participation in lighting the chalice and the biopot candles, and the sign up is in the foyer. And with that, we will extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
The words of the Reverend Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving. Blessed be.